You ignored her. You gave her space. You did what every dating coach, every TikTok clip, and every Instagram guru said would work. And yet, nothing. No text, no call, no double take. She didn't chase. She didn't even blink. Now you're left wondering, what went wrong? Here's the truth that no one really tells you. Ignoring a woman doesn't guarantee she'll come running back. And if you don't understand why, you'll keep playing the same game, expecting different results, and feeling more confused each time. This video is for the man who's done playing guessing games. It's for the guy who's tired of strategies that sound clever on paper, but fall flat in real life. It's time to pull back the curtain on the real psychology of women, and why some of them don't chase even when they're being ignored. You see, too many men assume that women will respond like men, that the moment you back off, her interest will skyrocket. But that's not how feminine psychology works. Sometimes, ignoring her actually confirms her worst assumptions about you. Other times, she was never emotionally invested to begin with, and your silence only makes it easier for her to walk away. But don't worry. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly what's happening under the surface. We'll break down the mindset of women in this dynamic, why ignoring doesn't always equal power, and what to do instead if you want to attract real attention and real respect. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding, then pay close attention. Because once you know why she's not chasing, you'll stop feeling confused and start making moves from a place of real clarity and confidence. Let's get into it. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my exclusive online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course goes deeper, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. We just finished section 5 in the course, and you won't find this information on videos on my channel. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. 1. She was never invested, you just didn't see it. Here's a hard truth most guys don't want to admit. Sometimes, she just wasn't feeling it from the beginning. It's tough to accept because as men, when we like a woman, we start seeing signs everywhere, even when they're not really there. Every text, every smile, every glance suddenly becomes proof that she's secretly into us. But often, those signs aren't signals. They're just simple courtesy. When you started to ignore her, you thought it was a tactical move, didn't you? You figured pulling away would make her see you differently, would make her realize she missed you, maybe even crave your attention. But it didn't work, and you were left scratching your head, wondering why. Here's what happened. There was no real connection to lose. A woman who's truly interested invests emotionally from the start. She finds ways to stay connected. She reaches out first, keeps conversations going, and makes time to see you. But a woman who's not emotionally invested? She'll keep it casual. Conversations stay surface level, and efforts are always minimal. She might reply to your messages, but not right away. She might agree to hang out, but rarely follows through. Those are subtle but unmistakable clues that many men choose to ignore. We've all been there. It's easy to convince yourself she's playing hard to get, or just needs more time. You start believing that by withdrawing your attention, you're making yourself mysterious and valuable. But in reality, you're just making it easier for her to drift away. Think about the way she acted before you stepped back. Was she genuinely enthusiastic, or simply polite? Did she ever initiate conversations, or was it always you putting in the effort? When you asked her to hang out, did she genuinely try to make it happen, or were there endless excuses? Deep down, you probably sensed the hesitation, but you brushed it off because you wanted it to be something more. Your silence didn't trigger her desire because there wasn't enough emotional investment on her end to begin with. This isn't about your value or worth. It's about her interest level. Ignoring her won't magically create attraction if it never existed. Understanding this is crucial because it stops you from chasing illusions. It keeps you from wasting time and emotional energy trying to win over someone who was never really in the game. Once you recognize she was never fully invested, you can refocus your attention on women who are genuinely interested, women who match your energy, enthusiasm, and effort. Remember, attraction isn't something you have to force or manipulate. When it's real, it flows naturally. You won't have to ignore her to get her attention. She'll already be looking your way. 2. She took your silence as rejection, not a challenge. A lot of guys make this mistake. They think going silent is some kind of test women are dying to pass. That by ignoring her, pulling back, or giving her space, she'll suddenly panic, realize what she lost, and start chasing. But in the real world, that's not how most women respond. In fact, many of them don't see your silence as a challenge. They see it as rejection. And when a woman feels rejected, she doesn't always fight for you. She often just moves on. Women aren't wired to chase the way men are. Most of them aren't going to hunt you down just because you disappeared. When you go silent, a woman might assume you lost interest, found someone else, or decided she wasn't worth the effort. And rather than risk looking desperate or needy, she'll just mirror your energy and vanish too. Now here's where this really hits men hard. You weren't trying to reject her. You were trying to increase attraction. You were trying to play it cool, build some tension, maybe even get a reaction. But all she felt was that you backed off. And she took that as her cue to do the same. This is what men don't get. Your silence isn't always seen as strength. Sometimes it confirms her doubts. If she was already unsure about your interest, or second-guessing your connection, your distance feels like confirmation. Yep, he's not serious. So she pulls back too. Not out of strategy, but out of self-protection. You thought you were being smooth. You thought your absence would create desire. But instead, it created confusion, disappointment, a quiet exit. The reality is, most women won't chase a man who disappears, especially if the emotional connection wasn't already strong. You might think you're applying pressure, but she's interpreting your silence as a dead end. And when a woman thinks the door is closed, she rarely knocks twice. This doesn't mean you should never pull back, but it does mean you have to understand where you stand first. If she's already emotionally engaged, distance might spark her interest. But if she's on the fence, she's not chasing, she's checking out. So if you're wondering why she didn't chase when you stopped reaching out, it's not always because she didn't care. It might be because your silence spoke louder than your words, and what it said was, "I'm done." And that's exactly how she took it. 3. She's getting validation elsewhere. Let's be real about something most men don't want to admit. You're not the only source of attention in her life. And when you go silent, thinking she'll miss you, she might not even notice, because she's already getting validation from 5 other places. This is the reality of modern dating. Social media, dating apps, DMs, old flings, work buddies. Her attention bucket is constantly being filled. And while you're out here trying to create space, thinking that distance will build desire, she's scrolling through her phone, reading a new, "Hey beautiful" message from someone else. It's not always about sex. A lot of times, women just crave attention, compliments, likes, someone checking in. That validation gives them a hit of confidence. And when that need is already being met by other men, or even just the dopamine from social media, your silence doesn't create longing. It just makes you another quiet tab she can close. This is what a lot of men struggle with. They overestimate their place in a woman's world. Just because you had a few great conversations or hung out a couple times doesn't mean you've become her emotional center. You might feel the connection, but to her, you could still be one of many. So when you pull away, expecting it to create impact, it often doesn't, because her ego is still being fed elsewhere. And here's the thing. This isn't even always about her being promiscuous or disloyal. It's just the world we live in. Women are constantly being reminded they're desirable. They don't always need to chase validation because it comes to them, effortlessly. So when you stop reaching out, when you pull back or ignore her, you're not leaving her in silence. You're leaving her in a crowd. And unless your presence had real weight, it's not going to leave a dent. You want to know why she didn't come back running? Because her emotional need for attention didn't take a hit. It stayed full. You stepped away from the table, but 10 others were still offering a seat. This doesn't mean you should chase, beg, or compete. It means you need to recognize the reality. If you're trying to get a woman's attention by going quiet, it only works if she actually feels the loss. And if she's getting that same energy elsewhere, then your absence doesn't hurt. It just blends into the background. Understanding this saves you from confusion. It stops you from thinking your strategy failed. And it helps you focus on building real connection, not just trying to manipulate one. 4. Ignoring her doesn't make you high value. There's a massive lie that's been floating around the dating world, especially on social media. If you ignore her, she'll respect you more. The idea is that silence automatically signals strength, mystery, and value. But here's the truth. Ignoring a woman doesn't make you high value. It just makes you invisible, unless she's already emotionally invested. The harsh reality is that too many men are using silence as a shortcut to confidence. They think pulling back is the same as setting boundaries. They think being unbothered is the same as being respected. But women don't respond to silence alone. They respond to what that silence represents. And if it doesn't represent anything real, if there's no depth, no presence, no connection built before it, then ignoring her just looks like avoidance or insecurity in disguise. A high-value man doesn't go silent hoping to get a reaction. He moves with intention. He knows when to engage and when to step back. Not out of strategy, but out of self-respect. He doesn't try to control her emotions with his absence. He's just not interested in chasing someone who's not showing up. But when you use silence as a trick, when you hope it'll trigger her curiosity or make her regret pulling away, you're not being powerful. You're being reactive. You're waiting on her to validate your worth by missing you. That's not confidence. That's dependence hiding behind quiet. Women can sense that. And if she's the type who's dated a lot of men, she's seen this before. She knows when a guy is pulling back to make her chase, and it usually doesn't impress her. It turns her off. Because real high-value energy doesn't try to get a reaction. It doesn't need one. If you want to be seen as valuable, then you have to bring something real to the table. Not games, not gimmicks. Just presence, consistency, and purpose. Silence without substance is forgettable, but confidence with clarity, that's what sticks. So if she didn't chase when you ignored her, don't assume she's blind to your value. Maybe she didn't see value to begin with, or maybe you tried to create it through absence instead of action. And that's where most men fall short. Being high value isn't about withholding yourself. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you never have to play games in the first place. Let her feel your presence. And if she can't respect that, then your silence won't save it. 5. She's used to men chasing, not pulling back. Most men don't realize how much of a routine chasing has become for women. From the time they're teenagers, they get approached, complimented, pursued, constantly. Whether it's in person, online, through social media, or dating apps, women are used to attention coming to them without effort. So when you decide to ignore her, thinking that'll flip the script and make her chase you, it often just doesn't register the way you hoped. She's not wired to respond to that with pursuit. She's wired to expect it from you. It's not always arrogance. Sometimes it's just conditioning. Most women haven't had to initiate much in their dating life. When they like someone, they usually wait to be noticed. When someone pulls away, they're more likely to interpret it as disinterest or rejection rather than something to chase after. And here's what makes it worse. If she's used to guys always being available, always eager, and always chasing, your silence doesn't build attraction. It just sets you apart as another one who gave up. She might not even think twice about it. Not because you weren't good enough, but because she's not used to having to work for male attention. This is especially true with attractive women. The more options a woman has, the less likely she is to chase anyone. Why would she? From her perspective, attention is always coming in. Your silence doesn't create pressure. It just clears space for someone else to fill. Let's say you meet a girl who's very active on social media. She posts often, gets constant likes, and has guys DMing her regularly. You two talk for a bit, maybe hang out once or twice, and then you decide to fall back, thinking that will spark her curiosity. Instead, you hear nothing. A week passes, then two. No message. no call. Meanwhile, she's still getting compliments, attention, and new options thrown her way. Your pullback didn't trigger a chase, it just took you off the list. It's not that your silence was wrong, it's that she didn't feel the need to break her pattern for you. She didn't feel moved enough to step outside her comfort zone, because most men before you didn't expect her to. If you want a woman to step forward when you step back, she has to feel something different with you. That connection has to stand out. You have to be more than just another guy who played it cool. And if she's not willing to chase even a little, it says more about her mindset than your value. Some women simply don't pursue, no matter how much they like you. They're waiting on effort, not giving it. So ask yourself this: do you really want a woman who's only engaged when you chase? Or do you want one who values you enough to meet you halfway when you pull back? That answer tells you everything. 6. You waited. She moved on. Here's something a lot of guys don't realize until it's too late. While you were waiting for her to miss you, she was already moving on. You thought time would work in your favor. You thought the silence would create space for her to reflect, for her to feel your absence. But instead, that time became her exit ramp. Men tend to think that patience is power in these situations, that if you just hold back long enough, she'll feel the gap, get curious, and come back. But women don't always operate on that timeline. In reality, most women don't sit around waiting to feel something for someone who pulled away, especially if they weren't deeply invested to begin with. You have to understand, women process detachment differently. While you're waiting, wondering if she's thinking about you, she might be using that silence as her green light to move forward. For her, your absence might not create longing. It might create closure. This is the part that stings. In your mind, you were still holding space for her. You were still open to reconnecting, still hoping she'd realize your worth. But in her mind, the story was already over. The last message was sent, the last call was unanswered, and that was enough. No follow-up, no chase, just forward movement. This doesn't make her cold, it makes her emotionally responsive. If she senses you're not showing up, she adapts. She may not say it, she may not make it obvious, but emotionally, she starts closing the door. She begins pulling her energy back. And once that process starts, it's very hard to reverse. Men often underestimate how fast women can detach when they feel unwanted. You assume she's stuck in the same loop as you, thinking, waiting, hoping. But she's not. She's mentally and emotionally adjusting to the silence. She's already making peace with your absence before you even realize she's gone. The silence you thought would spark attraction actually gave her the space to let go. While you were planning your next move, she was making peace with the ending. This is why it's so important not to use waiting as a dating strategy. Time alone doesn't build value. Silence without intention doesn't create impact. If the emotional connection wasn't already strong, waiting just gives her room to move past it. Sometimes the biggest mistake men make is assuming they have more time than they really do. But in the space where you expected interest to grow, she found the freedom to forget. The lesson? Don't confuse inaction with strength. Holding back can work, but only when there's something real already in motion. If you're still in the early stages or on shaky ground, don't expect silence to bring her closer. More often than not, it only gives her a head start in walking away. 7. She doesn't chase because she doesn't see you as the prize. She didn't chase because, in her eyes, you weren't worth chasing. That sounds harsh, but let's stop sugarcoating reality. In the dating game, people move toward what they value. When someone sees you as rare, desirable, and hard to replace, they show it. They make effort. They pursue. And if she didn't lift a finger when you went silent, you have to ask yourself, did I give her a reason to see me that way? Too many men expect women to chase just because they pulled back. They expect respect without building presence, interest without creating connection, effort without showing value. It doesn't work like that. Just being a man is not enough. Just being unavailable doesn't create desire. You've got to be someone she sees as a loss, not just someone who disappeared. Now let's be real. A lot of guys think they're the prize. But in reality, they haven't done the work. They haven't built the confidence, the discipline, the purpose. They think detaching is power, but they haven't built anything that actually makes a woman want to stay attached in the first place. You want her to chase? Then give her a damn reason to. Be a man she doesn't come across every day. Someone who lives with intention, carries himself with standards, and doesn't hand out his time and attention to just anyone. If you're lazy, indecisive, emotionally unstable, or looking for a woman to complete you, you're not the prize. You're the project. And women don't chase projects. They run from them. This is the wake-up call. You can't fake high value. You can't just go silent and hope she sees you as a king. That title has to be earned through how you live, how you lead, how you carry yourself, through the strength you show, not just in distance, but in presence, in consistency, in direction. If she didn't chase, it's not always because she's heartless or arrogant. Sometimes it's because you didn't stand out. You didn't give her something solid to want more of. And when there's nothing to miss, silence doesn't sting. It just makes it easier for her to move on. So stop asking why she didn't chase, and start asking who you were when she had access to you. That answer tells you everything. Wake up, tighten up, and become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chased, because women naturally move toward what's real, not what's trying to play hard to get. Let me leave y'all with this. Most women don't chase because they don't have to. They've been taught that they are the prize, that the man who truly wants them will always come after them. And sadly, most men keep proving them right. But that ends here. If you're ready to wake up. If you're tired of being confused, ignored, or used for attention, then it's time to stop playing games and start building value from the inside out. A woman who truly sees your worth won't need tricks to stay interested. And if she doesn't, you walk. No hesitation, no strategy, just standards. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever ignored a woman and expected her to come chasing, only for her to disappear instead? Or have you been on the edge, not sure if pulling back is strength or just silence? Drop your story in the comments. I'll be replying to many of you personally. I want to build a real space where men can talk, connect, and grow stronger together. You're not alone in this. And if this message hits something in you, don't just keep it to yourself. Let's talk. Let's build. This is just the beginning.